What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at one of my favorite Celestial Tiger games that I've ever played. And that's saying something because I've had some pretty sweet games on Celestial Tiger. One of my favorite things to do with Celestial Tiger is to make heavy use of treasure map and get an early tier 7 treasure. And really any time is early for a tier 7 treasure because they are so powerful and can just have such a big impact on the game. And when you think about tier 7 treasures, a lot of them are pretty complicated or do some pretty weird or interesting things, and we're going to be getting one of those weird and interesting treasures this game, and that is Magic Sword. And I'm kind of being a little bit cheeky with that. Magic Sword, of course, just gives your first unit 100 attack, and compared to some of the other tier 7 treasures, Magic Sword is a little bit bland, right? Like, it doesn't have a bunch of lines of text. It's not that complicated. You can understand it. Basically, as soon as you start playing Storybook Brawl, you can understand what Magic Sword does. Okay, plus 100 attack. That's a very big number, but, you know, an 8-3 is going to be just as good as a 103 in that brawl. So why would... oh, you know what? Let's touch down on this. This is a cool moment. We shard first because then we can pick up whatever unit it turns into. Okay, back to talking about Magic Sword. That was a pretty cool play. If we're able to turn that Minotaur into a triple, then we'll look pretty sweet for being able to do that there. But Magic Sword is deceptively actually kind of a complicated treasure. And I don't mean that it is complicated to understand, obviously, but there's actually a lot that it can do. And I'm really going to push the boundaries of how to utilize Magic Sword in this video, I think, in a really, really cool way, and that's what makes this game so fun to me. This game being Storybook Brawl, but also being this game in particular, I think that we really do some nice big brain strats with the Magic Sword. So while I'm playing Celestial Tiger, I like trying to triple up on 3s, and I like trying to triple up on 2s. If we can get like an early locked chest or rune stones, that can also be a way to get a huge power spike in the treasures department. So go for Black Cat and Prized Pig, take some econ and some power, definitely the strongest pickup on the board. Let's skip ahead slightly here. Black Cat is going to... we missed a little bit of the combat. I'll go back. All right, here we go. Okay, it was just their bad Billy attacking into the Black Cat, but I do think, well, my opponent doesn't really have a backline, but we don't have too much going on. No, we're actually going to be able to win this one. That's pretty nice. We see that they've got the locked chest there, but we are going to hit them for 5, so can't be feeling too bad about that. Staying on 40 life points, and then also getting 2 extra gold to use this turn. I don't hate Lucky because it is a dwarf, so it does kind of play on the current board, and then I think I'll pick up the Lucky pair, probably. Brave Princess is kind of interesting. It's 3.1. I think that we could still make Brave Princess work, and the payoff for Brave Princess is so big when you're playing Celestial Tiger, because the payoff is getting to grab a doubled up tier 3 treasure. Because this has another Lucky in the shop, I am going to lock this one. Could have sold the Minotaurs, could have sold the Black Cat and the Pig or something like that, but I think that this is going to be enough. And I'm going to cut the Black Cat from this one because I'm going to frontline the Minotaur so that way we can backline the Brave Princess. That makes it slightly possible that the Brave Princess gets a second slay, but just makes it so much more likely that it gets that first one, which is super important when we're picking it up on 3.1. Just a little bit later will mean that we'll get that treasure a little bit later. We wind up losing our first Minotaur to my opponent's Falling Stars, but we are able to get our first slay with the Brave Princess, so not too shabby here, and then Sure Shot's going to take it down. So we are going to wind up losing our first combat and donating some gold to our opponent, but we take 6 down to 34. Not too shabby, all things considered. 1 cost lucky. That's pretty sweet. We'll cast a free roll, and then I see a pair of stags, and I think that's pretty good. We're going to be going into 4.0 with no treasures, but 3 pairs and a Brave Princess that is halfway done. I'm saying half because it's like 1.5. It's kind of Schrodinger's Brave Princess right now. We don't know if it's going to slay this turn or not, but hopefully it can. Like I said, I really like to prioritize... I do something here. I really like to prioritize getting tier 3 treasures, and it looks like I like to prioritize it enough that I decide to sell off 3 of my non-paired units and pick up this Princess White. So this means that now we're operating on just pairs, and now Princess White also potentially allows us to get a tier 3 treasure. But White is interesting on Tiger because it lets you get a tier 3 treasure while also continuing to make your board stronger, because we could pick up like some Tweedledees or something like that. So that is potentially going to be able to work out well for us. I slightly want to try to support with the stags the Brave Princess as much as possible so that we can get some free stats on that regard, but unfortunately the Brave Princess is going to get singled out, and we're going to lose this one and take 7 damage down to 27. Potion Master is a pretty strong hero, but we connect on 2 of our tier 3 treasures here. First one, we get the treasure map. That's much better than Deepstone Mine. That means we're going to be getting a tier 7 treasure, and I already talked about it a little bit. Magic Sword is what we are going to go with. I do think that Black Prism is cool. Holy Grail, this is definitely way too early for. There wouldn't be enough that we could do with Holy Grail because we would just be like tripling 3 cost units. So here's the first thing that I think about with the Magic Sword. Could be good with the Brave Princess. It's going to guarantee that the Brave Princess gets to slay. Could also be good with something like Black Cat, but then we see this Tweedledee, and that is just really, really good with Magic Sword. And that is the main reason that I think Magic Sword is kind of busted and really, really good, especially when you can get it early on Celestial Tiger. So it's got the extra 100 attack, and then when it summons, it's going to come back with 100 attack as well. But it also comes back with an additional 100 defense, because Tweedledum looks at the attack of Tweedledee, and that includes temporary buffs on the attack or static buffs on the attack. So it is going to be a 100-100 unit as long as it doesn't get like attacked by a Medusa or anything like that. And that's basically just going to ensure that we don't lose any combats. You can see my opponent already emoting. They are going to be losing both of their prized pigs, and there's nothing they can do about it. We're also going to be getting our slay on with our Brave Princess before eating this other prized pig. And they can't be too upset. They're Horde Dragon. If they can triple a tier 4 unit, they are going to be able to get a tier 7 treasure themselves. But we beat them to it, and Magic Sword is really, really ridiculously strong. It's strong enough that I feel like I can just like take Luckies, which kind of work towards Princess White, but then also just work towards getting me some econ, potentially getting me some more treasures and things. I think here I am debating... I go for the Cinderella plus the ball. I guess that makes sense, because I was debating the Mask Ball, so might as well take the Cindy here as well, but none of those things particularly excite me, and just going to be rolling with this. I do pick up a pair of Fairy Godmothers as well, because I figure maybe we could grab like a tier 4 treasure or something like that from those. But yeah, really, I mean, there's going to not be too much to say for a little bit. We've got a Magic Sword. We're kind of untouchable, at least for these next 2 combats. We do play against back-to-back opponents with treasure maps, so this could be a spicy lobby. We don't want to take this for granted. We want to make sure that we are getting stronger, and luckily, there's ways built right into Magic Sword that also help you get stronger. We are going to get Brave Princess online here, so that is going to be a doubled up tier 3 treasure. And Merlin's Hat seems just as good as any other option. Merlin's Hat is pretty cool here because one of the main things that we want to do now is potentially be buying XP. So Merlin's Hat is just going to make XP that much cheaper, allow us to find, I'm blanking on all the names, Turkish Delight or Wish Upon a Star. And we've definitely got the comfortability to do that right now is ready already. You can see I'm kind of eyeing up the idea of playing like Polywoggle Grimsoul. Again, this is just because we are already so ahead, so I'm trying to figure out what other ways can we add to this board and get us some stronger things. But I would like to buy XP this turn. If we can buy some XP right now, that's going to mean that the Polywoggle turns into a tier 6 unit, so that would be a super big deal. So that is like the main thing that I am rolling for. XP is going to be free, so we can roll into it at any point, and I wind up finding a Godmother, roll past that, and then I see another Polywoggle and Grimsoul, so now I'm like, okay, well, I kind of want that. I just wind up going for the free roll, getting the Cinderella, and I take the bounty board. It's not going to do too much for us. It will give us 2 gold going into the next turn, so it's fine, but we're really just coasting off of this this Tweedle still. We didn't really get too much done this turn, unfortunately, but hopefully we can get some nice and fun stuff done this turn. We get a pumpkin, which is interesting. I guess we'll pretend we bought some XP because pumpkin is costing... pumpkin's only costing 5 on this patch. This is footage from the previous patch, but I don't think we're going to hang on to the pumpkin too long in this comp. Just barely allowing the Fallen Angel to survive. We do want to pick up some things here because they are free, so I'll probably just like sell this pumpkin right now. I guess I can sell the Cinderella and then buy and sell the chicken, buy and sell the Queen of Hearts, and then we're going to buy the Lancelot. And this is one of the other cool things that you can do with Magic Sword is you can immediately activate Lancelot. So that is pretty sweet. I'll Mix-a-Wizzle the pumpkin, and we get a Lordy, so I guess Tweedle is back in. And then I play the Grimsoul as well, because maybe that could trigger and buff the Lance a little bit. Who knows? We'll roll, and again, I'm mostly rolling for XP here, though we could try to do the Polywoggle thing again. We could also take this 9 Sea Terror, and then I do find some XP. And now all of a sudden I want to win this combat again, so I am no longer as keen on... excuse me. No longer as keen on just getting the treasure from the Lance. I want to make sure that we win this combat so that we are getting that extra XP, and then we'll be level 6 next turn. Sorry, little bit of a brain fart, but we should be able to win now that we have Tweedle, and that's, like, we don't utilize the Lance immediately to get the tier 5 treasure while we're still tier 5, but I do think this is like the hidden value of Magic Sword still. The Magic Sword just got us this extra XP effectively, because if we didn't have this Magic Sword, we wouldn't have been able to roll so aggressively for XP, and that's going to be a game changer. We get, oh, never mind, we don't get another pumpkin. That pumpkin is the same one that we Mix-a-Wizzled into Geppetto. I will pick up a tier 4 treasure here, and... none of these are too exciting. You could take Deck of Many Things because you're tier 6, or you could just skip to try to make some good things happen. We'll pick up a free Court Wizard. I guess we can play that as well. And then, honestly, could Dream. It's a free Dream, so it's pretty good, and I'm not really using the Bounty Board or the Merlin's Hat. Those treasures are going to be next to go, and we're going to be able to get a treasure from Lance here pretty shortly, so I'm not super keen on hanging on to Celestial Tiger. It did its job. It got us the tier 7 treasure. That's all we really wanted from it, and now we get to pick up a tier 4 treasure, so that's potentially going to be replacing something. Coin of Sharon is pretty good. It kind of looks like we're moving towards a good comp. So if we could pick up like a good boy reasonably soon, then we could do some nice stuff with that. I'm going to roll... Oh, okay. And then we're done for this turn. So why don't I play the Lancelot here? It's a good question. Honestly, I think that I should. I don't remember exactly what... Oh, I remember. I've got the Godmother. So the Godmother could mean if the stag attacks, the lance would have +6 right now and would be at 23. And then one more unit dying would put it up to 25. So because I had the Godmother, I was thinking I don't really need the lance to make use of the magic sword. Let's just use the magic sword to win, and then we'll just try to get the treasure from the lance. Surprisingly, they actually do take out our magic sword, so good on Insomniac, but we are still, and you can see, like, we definitely needed it. So that is going to be super useful for us. We should definitely be getting the lance treasure this turn, even if we don't get the stag attack. I think that the lance treasure is pretty straightforward, though if we want to guarantee it, we could also go for a spell. And again, just looking to hang on to the Tweedledee in slot 1 to make sure that we continue to be strong, because I do think that that is important. Going to pick up 9 Sea Terror here, and I go for a Mimic Chest. So now we've got a doubled magic sword, and now it is really tough to lose. We could also put the Tweedledee into a croc, which means that then we effectively get like 3 uses out of the magic sword, which is pretty sweet, but we're not going to go for it. But what I do want to go for here is this Forbidden Fruit. If I Forbidden Fruit, sell my whole bench, sell 1 more unit, I can activate Hercules right away. And that is just 1 more use of this magic sword that I think is super sweet. So as long as Hercules doesn't get sniped by a ranged unit, we are just going to get a free tier 6 treasure from that. And that tier 6 treasure is going to have a Mimic Chest on it. Excuse me. And I think that is worth the temporary down in stats right here. The temporary loss of stats, I should say. And honestly, the temporary loss of stats isn't even going to hurt us that much. We still tie this combat. We could have beat the grandmother there if we really wanted to, or Mrs. Claus, I mean, but not going to be necessary. I go for Ivory Owl. Wand of Weirding is definitely worth considering there. Then I'm probably just skipping this tier 5 treasure. Yeah, Ivory Owl is definitely decent, especially with what we currently have on the board, because what we currently have on the board is a comp that is set up really well if we find a good boy. And that is going to be the ultimate use of the magic sword here when we eventually do find this good boy, because now good boy gets to get in, it's got double magic sword on it, and then it is going to spread the love and give everybody a magic sword, and that is going to be quite fantastic. I will roll for a potion here, and a Drink Me potion, and this has got some good spells in it. It's got a Pigomorph, it's got a Dream, and it's got a Knighthood. So I think I'm going to go for this It Was All a Dream here, potentially get something a little bit better than Jack's Giant. I could also take Pigomorph though, and then I'm going to be locking to keep the Knighthood. None of these are particularly impressive, none of these heroes, but I'll just take Merlin. It could potentially mean that we get some more stats. Next turn, I think we're just going to go for Knighthood on the good boy. Every single turn, this good boy is going to get additional stats, but this opponent came to play. They've got a Pigomorph for our good boy, plus a pair of Lightning Dragons that is going to trigger the Court Wizard, so we do get to take out their Lightning Dragon, but that also takes out a ton of power on their board, on our board. Mummy takes out our Court Wizard, but we still get a win, and we almost get a kill onto this Potion Master. So we're only like at half power right now. They scammed our good boy on that one, and that denied us a ton of stats. But you can still see we are quite powerful. And There's also a stone skin here and also a pigomorph. So I definitely think that this shop is worth locking too. It is worth mentioning that the stone skin plus 4 health isn't that much because Good Boy is going to be getting +4/+4 each turn from the owls regardless. But I do think it's at least worth thinking about, especially for this pigomorph here too. If we get a kill here on Zelhua and Potion Master or Mrs. Claus take one of the other out, the next combat's the finals. So I do like having this Pigo. Like I said, that was quite the Drink Me potion rolled into a lot there. Maybe we didn't need to dream into Jack's Giant or dream off of Jack's Giant. +2 health on Good Boy is potentially just good enough, and maybe we should have just gone for the Pigomorph, kill the Potion Master, and then we could have like killed the Zelhua here, potentially. But then somebody just has the buy, like it's the same amount of total combats in the end, really, so wouldn't have been too big of a deal. Court Wizard's going to attack into the Applewood, and then Good Boy's going to die, and then all of a sudden, we just have a ton of stats against our opponent, and we're even going to avoid the scam from the Rotten Applewood, and we just have quite a large Court Wizard. We'll even get a Slay there with Lancelot, opponent giving it up to us here, as we are quite strong, hitting them for 18. And really, I mean, so much of this was just from that magic sword. You have to credit the owls to the magic sword too, because we were able to do it. And here's where things get a little bit spicy. My opponent is actually set up very well against us. So I'm going to try something a little bit different here, and we're going to utilize the magic sword in one additional way against my opponent, because I'm thinking that we don't want to backline the Court Wizard, it will just die. And now whatever they attack into in our back line, we're kind of happy. If they attack and kill either of our royals, then we get a free attack with our Court Wizard. And if they attack our Good Boy, then we get the Good Boy stats everywhere. So because of that, I am going to pump up the Good Boy a little bit after I sell my units, and that's because I am Merlin. And potentially, again, should have just been going for the Pigomorph there, but I do think that this line has some play to it as well. So we'll see what we can do with it. I am now debating here taking the Grandmother or Godmother. I keep mixing up the names of all of those things, and I don't quite use my time appropriately as this combat is going to be over. But let's take a look and see what happens here. The first Lightning Dragon is going to fail to get in there, but the second one is going to get in there and slay, which is a ton of stats on the Jormungand. But you can see our Court Wizard has so much attack. If we could only have attacked that Jormungand, we actually would have almost taken it out. This one's still going to be close, though, because the Court Wizard is still going to be able to survive all of this backline stuff, but it isn't going to be able to survive the Jormungand. So we take 8 from my opponent's Baba Yagas. But this is doable. I really think this one's possible, but we got to think here. We got to unlock the full potential of Magic Sword if we want to win this one. Another Fairy Godmother is interesting. Like, when your opponent has all of these Lightning Dragons and you're on Good Boy, it certainly makes the combat weird. I think like a Romeo or something could have been really good here, backline the Juliet, but I also really like playing my big boys in the back, so that way we can at least still deny the slay on one of my opponent's Lightning Dragons. That is still really good, and of course if they scam attack into the Good Boy and kill that, like, you gotta just be totally fine with that. So I'll throw some more health on there. One thing that we could have considered is Copycat. If we're going to be backlining this Good Boy, it's kind of like a hedge, so that way if Good Boy dies or doesn't die, we're still in a good place regardless. I think about putting Juliet in the backline as well, and then I just wind up moving some things around, but at the very last second, I decide that I'm going to put the Magic Swords back on this Good Boy. And ultimately, there is just so much power in doing that. What we do lose out on here is a little bit awkward. We lose out on this Court Wizard attack, because if this Court Wizard had 200 attack, it could have been able to potentially just take out that Jormungand. And then Lightning Dragon gets in again for a whole bunch more attack, and we attack the Jormungand again and fail to kill it. But then Good Boy dies, and that just gives out so much stats to the rest of our crew that the rest doesn't really matter. And so I probably should have just played the Good Boy in slot 1 on the previous combat. I was trying to get a little bit tricky with it. I do think that the Court Wizard in slot 2 is kind of cool, and it helps protect us from the Lightning Dragon in some capacity, but really what Magic Sword should be doing is just what it says. It should just be given 100 attack to a unit, and it doesn't have to be too much more complicated than that. You just put it on a Good Boy and then give that stats to the rest of your team. I did think this game was really cool, though, in terms of showing off a lot of different cool things that the Magic Sword can do. I totally forgot that I didn't actually wind up using the Magic Sword to get the Lance, but it is cool that you can use the Magic Sword on the Tweedledee, then you use it on the Lance, then you use it on the Hercules, and it just gets you 2 free treasures for itself, and just a ton of value across the board. So that's going to be it for me for this one. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.